When you have 45-degree water or 50-degree water, there's one right there. He hit it on the paws. Going to be kind of gentle with him. Yeah, decent fish. So we'll just be gentle. Yeah, we're going to be gentle. We're going to be gentle with this guy. Again, he's hooked outside the mouth. We're just going to let him tire himself out. Not put any pressure on those hooks. Okay, now we're going to get down and see if we can get this guy out of here. Come here, fishy. Nice, chunky, cold water fish. And you could tell when you look into their mouths, you can see, look at that. That hook was outside of his mouth, barely in there. This one here on the outside of his head, barely in there. That's all you're going to hook these fish with, just barely. And they're good. They're good, healthy fish, wintertime fish. They still eat. I don't see if he's got anything in his gullet. Looks like he could have crawfish in there, but nice sized fish. Pretty time winter fish. Red mouths, they all get that. A lot of people say it forces blood to their mouth. It helps them feed. So here we go, fishy. Go back in there. That fish hit it on the stop. I mean, that thing was stopped. I went to pull it again, and you could feel them on there. But again, that's what you have to do with these fish. You can't horse them in. They're barely hooked. They're just going to come over and swipe at it. They want to eat. You can tell that fish had been eating. He had a nice belly on him. So you want to let that fish tire himself out. Go to a softer rod. I'm going to hit as many different depth contours that I can when I'm fishing this time of year. I'm going to cast parallel to the bank, and I'm going to go out to about, right now the case is I'll go out to about maybe 10, 12 feet deep, because this bait goes about 7 feet deep. I don't think the fish are going to come up too far to get that bait, but they'll definitely come up 2 or 3 feet to get it. That's all they care about now, is being able to get from shallow water to deep water quickly without having to travel. So steeper drop-offs rather than something like this, that's what you're looking for, something like that. I'll never forget this story. I was covering an FLW event, and George Cochran, one of the legends in bass fishing, was at Gunnersville Lake in Alabama. And he, in practice, was catching a lot of 2.5, 3 pounders on a crankbait in his area. And he went back and that night talked to Larry Nixon, who was, they're related. Everybody from Arkansas is related. Anyway, Larry told him, says, hey, I'm catching some bigger fish on a jerkbait. And so Cochran, kind of put in the back of his mind. And he was out fishing this spot on day one. And you're not going to win tournaments on Gunnersville with 3-pound fish. You're just not going to do it. So he's out there fishing this spot, and he's got his limit of 2.5 to 3-pound fish. And he thinks, well, let me try that jerkbait. Maybe that's the key at getting bigger fish. So he takes the jerkbait, he throws it out there, and he starts catching 2.5 to 3-pound fish. I mean, nothing's different. He's catching the same fish. And so he makes this cast, and he jerk, pause, and he sees a boat coming. So he stops, and he's looking all around the lake saying, who is that guy? Where's he going? And that must have taken him 5 or 6 seconds, and all of a sudden, whoop, the rod just about rips out of his hand. It was a 6-pounder. So he figured that he had to wait till another boat came by until he could catch a fish. But no, he figured, hey, I gotta let that bait sit longer. That's what the bigger fish want. And he ended up winning the tournament. When evaluating a jerkbait, don't let color be the first thing that you're looking at. Make sure you're buying decent hardware. Got good hooks, good split rings. Okay, that's a must. Then try to figure out what it's going to do. Is it going to float? Is it going to suspend? Is it going to cast into the wind? All these things. Then, after you analyze all the mechanics of the bait that you're getting ready to buy, look at color. But that's the only time you're going to look at color. And I do recommend the clown color. I don't care where you fish or when you fish. The clown color is like number one. Got to have the clown color. After that, go ahead and play around. These companies, Lucky Craft has a color for every, it's like the Crayola of fishing lures. Any kind of color you can think of, they're going to have. And if you are insistent upon matching the hatch, they can help you do that too. But that was an interesting era in fishing, that whole jerkbait thing. The last one to come up with a suspending jerkbait was Storm. I can't remember the guy's name, but I had lunch with him at an outdoor conference. And he says, yeah, Mr. Storm wouldn't let us make a suspending jerkbait, but he said, you know, if you find a way to make our jerkbait suspend, I'll go for it. So he was on a trip and decided to drop off his golf clubs to get them balanced or whatever, and they were sticking lead weights, little thin, stick them to the clubs so they could work on balancing them. And he asked the guy, he goes, hey, can I borrow some of that? He says, sure. So he takes them and puts it on jerkbaits, just, you know, used a hole punch and cut a little disc on there and attach it to a jerkbait, and then the rest is history. Of course, Storm now has, everybody's got a suspending jerkbait. No question that they work, and they have an extended season because you can fish them so many different ways. You can fish them fast, slow, stopped, moving, deep, shallow. You can fish them any way you want, and it goes back to that depth and speed. Figure out the depth and speed and just match that more than you have to match the hatch. Depth and speed so much more important. What do we have here? What do we have here? A little guy. Okay, we'll take him. A little guy. You gonna jump for us? Look at that. I think he's gonna come off if I try to lift him out of the water. And I am gonna lift him out of the water because no other reason other than he's got a hook in him from somebody else. Okay, so this guy, he's not hooked really good. The hook came out. But I noticed that this fishing line was in his gullet. And we're gonna get this thing out of him. And let me just show you, see if we can get this for you on camera. Try to find out where that hook is. He's got it so deep. I'm going through this side, I think. We're going to grab the line and pull until we see that this thing's got a swivel on it and everything. That poor guy's been swimming around with this thing for a while. And man, that's in there pretty good. Okay, we're getting it. Get my finger under the bend of that hook, and you can see how thin this fish is. So that's one of the reasons this fish is so thin. Get the glove out of there now. So we got the hook out, but you can see how thin he is. And the reason he's so thin is because he had that hook in his gullet. So now I got it out, and he's going to swim away and be a happy fish again. All right, there we go. Hit that one on the paws. And we're going to be gentle. Remember, these hooks are not huge. I just felt a hook come out of that fish. So he's got maybe one or two hooks still left in him. And we'll see. They get kind of sluggish in this cold water. Okay, he's got one hook in him. See how I'm just sort of letting him take that rod down. I got him where I want him now. Just got to tire him out. Normally I'd swing a fish into the boat, but we're not going to do that because he's only got one of those little trebles stuck in him. One little treble. And we're going to belly land him so we don't get hooks in our hand. We're going to basically stick our hand under the belly of the fish. Like that. You can see he's only got that one treble. Look at this. It comes right out. So you got to be real gentle when you bring those fish in. This one's got some nice color to him. I'm looking at him. See how red that mouth is? Very red. Nice fish. We'll let you go, fishy. There he goes. Now, the wind is blowing up against this bank. And these are, you know, we talk about the wind all the time and what it does. One of the things it does is it activates the food chain by blowing any of the plankton, zooplankton, any small little bugs, anything at all. Then the smaller fish follow, the bigger fish follow, the predator fish get active, churns up the water, a little more oxygen in it, beats up against the bank, pulls food away from the shoreline. So the wind does a lot to help us. A lot of guys don't like fishing it because you gotta be on the trolling motor. It's hard to cast. It's, you know, not comfortable sometimes, but this is where you're going to get most of your fish. You just got to tough it out and believe in it, and take it from there. These baits cast so well because of that ball, and like I said, there's a lot to that ball, more to it than just casting. Because when it hits the water, it sits down tail first, and then you snap it, and it goes like this, and then it sits there, and it balances it out. Well, like I said, this weighs the same as a pointer 100, but it's a little bit shorter. So because it's shorter, it doesn't have as much air in the bait. So weight and buoyancy start to take over, where the weight is the same but the buoyancy is different. So when you snap this and it goes down, it'll go down a little bit deeper than the pointer 100 and a little bit smaller profile. Okay, that was a long pause. That was a long pause, and that fish ate it pretty good. Again, mouthful of hooks. You want to belly land these fish if you can. We basically put our hands under their belly, just like that. And now we'll try to lip them. Now I'm going to have to use some pliers so we don't hurt this guy. He's got that hook kind of under a gill flap. There we go. Came right out. But he ate it pretty good, and that was a long pause. Pretty good fish. Nothing in his gullet. We'll let him go. Get on down there. Come on, fishies. Had a couple of bites along here. This long pause. I mean, that was a really long pause. I was daydreaming, and I just started to move the bait again. I go, oh, there's a fishy. Those kinds of things you pay attention to. I mean, when you're not catching them and you're going like, wow, why am I not catching them? Maybe you're not pausing it long enough. Especially, you know, this time of year with fronts coming through and the water being 45 degrees, it can definitely be a pause issue. But we'll see. We got our clouds, we got our chop on the water. And there's another one right there. Okay. And it's the pause that refreshes. And again, we're not going to horse any of these fish because we don't know how big they are. You never know how big they are till you get them to the boat, take a look at them, because they're so sluggish, they really don't pull very hard. Yeah, he's not bad. We'll take him, huh? Again, he's got the front hook in him, and the back hook's just flopping around. Again, kind of a belly land. Get those hooks out. Look at that. See that? I took the tension off of that, and those hooks just dropped right out of that fish. Dropped right out. But a pretty fish. It's got a little scar right there. Might be from an eagle or an osprey's, as it kind of matches this other side a little bit. Got a little there, but we'll let him go. All right. And again, I'm fishing water that's only about maybe 6 feet deep over here now. But it's the pause. Pause. Take your time. Talk to your buddy. Call your wife. Do something. But take your time. Take your time. By the way, these are great gloves. They're made by a company called Minus 33. So they make everything out of merino wool. And what they do, which is interesting, they use a nylon to give it the strength and the flexibility, but they then wrap that nylon with merino wool. So each strand of that goes into putting these things together is merino wool with a stronger core to it. And it's called Minus 33. They make, I just tried their gloves and really liked them, but they also make shirts and pants and all kinds of other clothing. Good stuff. You haven't heard a lot about them. You ought to check them out because they're high quality and they're an American company. So check them out and stay warm. Nothing like a wool glove. It gets wet and it's not cold. This is an old road that comes in here, and it's got, if you look, you can see some stumps of trees that used to be along that road. But what else is along that road? Usually rock or gravel or something harder. So it's definitely a fish haven. Road beds are good because they're harder bottoms. Fish like to be on a harder bottom. They also have a nice edge to them. So I like fishing them. Whole different fish when the water gets cold. They don't run, they don't jump, they just kind of swim a little bit, pull a little bit, and they're not hooked real well because they don't slam the bait. If you try to set the hook too hard, you're going to rip those hooks right out of this fish. You've seen almost every fish that we've caught as soon as we take the pressure off, the hooks kind of pop out. And even though you have 6 treble hooks or 6 individual hooks, 2 treble hooks, they'll still get off. They'll still get off, and you've got to be gentle with them. Just keep them pinned. Keep the pressure on them. They're not going to jump, so you don't have to worry about that. Just kind of use your rod and your reel together. Keep the reel loading that rod. When that rod's loaded, it's putting pressure on those hooks. And the only way to keep the rod loaded is with your reel. So use them both together. There we go. I felt him come up and grab that. That was not one of those where you felt it. You felt it when you went to move the bait again. This was one where I actually felt him come up, grab it, and go down with it through the slack line. Even though this is a gamma coke poly, it's still very sensitive. So again, remembering our lesson, if you've ever had a hook in your hand trying to get treble hooks out, kind of locate where the hooks are. And then now I'm just going to grab this fish around his head. There we go. Get that hook out. Get one of these hooks out. And get the other hook out. Nice thing about wearing gloves, you always get hooks in your gloves. If you have gloves on, you ever want to find a hook, put gloves on. Another nice bass. Again, this guy looks a little warmer than the other ones, but we'll let him go. I haven't said this, but I'll say it now. If you're fishing in the wintertime, if you're fishing by yourself, if you're out on the water, you should wear a life jacket of some kind. I wear the auto inflatables. They also have a manual function to them, so if you go overboard, little bobbin gets wet, dissolves, fires a trigger, inflates it with CO2. So you have a chance, or they can find your body when it's all over and done with. I wear one all the time, and I'm a great swimmer, absolutely great swimmer. I'm very good on boats, been on boats my whole life. I'm not afraid of the water. I respect the water, and I will wear a life jacket all the time, whether I'm fishing by myself, with somebody else, big boat, small boat, warm water, cold water, deep water, shallow water. I'm always going to wear something. All right, we got sun. We got no chop. Help! 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 Oh, it'll get windy again. And maybe I see some clouds, so maybe it'll cloud up again. And then we'll catch another fishy. Alrighty, here we go. Right along the edge of these rocks. Gently, gently. Go with a little spot lock action here. Yeah, he doesn't like it now. He didn't mind that ride, the first part of it, but now he's like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? How do I get back home? Again, watch out for the hooks. Oh, watch out for those hooks. And look, hook here came out, and hook here came out real easy. But nice fish, jerkbait. There it is. Lightning Pointer 98 XR. Get some. Well, there you go. The jerkbait worked, but which one is the best one? I've got this size, lips that big, this big, that big, some that dance this way, some that dance that way, some that dance all over the place. Well, today we kind of narrowed it down, and one of my favorite jerkbaits from Lucky Craft is the Lightning Pointer 98 XR. You saw how I used it today. A lot of different things you can use as far as your line goes, your rods go, but the cadence is the key. You've got to pause it and let it wait. I'm Captain Steve Chaconis. Please subscribe and share this. Let your friends know about this. Some great tips today on fishing jerkbaits in the fall.